In the previous video, we explored the Guardrails module in Bud AI Foundry and how it keeps your AI applications safe, reliable, and aligned with their intended use. In this video, we'll look at how to create custom guardrail policies, tailored specifically to your organization or use case. Defining custom guardrail policies are important because off-the-shelf guardrail systems work well for general use, but they cannot fully cover organization-specific policies and requirements. Every business has its own policies, its own edge cases, its own definition of what's acceptable and what's not. For example, imagine you've deployed an HR agent. An employee reaches out and starts describing a harassment issue at work. That's deeply sensitive territory, something an AI shouldn't be handling on its own. Instead of responding, the system needs to recognize the situation and immediately route it to a human HR partner. Generic guardrails won't catch that nuance. Now, the traditional way to capture organization-specific policies is to train your own guardrail models. But that's expensive, time-consuming, and requires specialized AI expertise that most organizations simply don't have. That's one of the problems Bud Sentinel guardrails solve. You can define organization-specific guardrail policies with a few definitions and some guidance. No model training required. Let's see how it works. Log into Bud Dashboard and navigate to the Guardrails module. From here, click the Add Guardrail button. You'll see an option to create custom probe. Click that, and you'll be taken to the probe definition screen. This is where you define the intelligence behind your probe. You start with the task description, which is simply a clear statement of what this probe exists to catch. In this example, I added a description for a custom policy to detect harassment incidents in the workplace. Next, you teach the probe the vocabulary of your domain through the definitions field. This could include domain-specific abbreviations, internal terms, or your organization's definitions of different terms. Without these definitions, the probe is guessing at meaning. With them, it applies your organization's exact interpretation of the rules. Interpretation rules come next. These are conditional logic statements that tell the probe when to trigger and when to hold back. By adding different rules here, you can define how to interpret a message from an employee or an output from an LLM. Rules like these are what separate a precise probe from one that triggers constantly, even on legitimate content. Then you configure the evaluation approach, which has 3 subfields that work together to give the probe a consistent lens. Depiction tells it what kind of content it's looking at. Request tells it the specific question to answer about that content. And guidance gives it a reasoning framework to apply at inference time. Together, these 3 fields ensure the probe approaches every case the same way, with the same intent. Sometimes content may include words you flagged as threats, but the context makes it safe. For example, mentioning harassment while casually asking about company policies should be treated as safe content. Adding several explicit safe content types here prevents the probe from being overly conservative. Training examples are where the probe actually gets sharp. You need at least 5 labeled examples, but 7 or more is better, especially to cover the edge cases specific to your deployment. Labeling and explaining boundary cases is what teaches the probe to reason through ambiguity, rather than just pattern match on keywords. For violations, you organize them by severity so that downstream systems can respond proportionally rather than treating everything the same. Similar to safe content, you can also provide training examples for violations. You need to add examples for each violation category. Finally, ambiguity handling. This is where you tell the probe exactly what to do when a case doesn't fall cleanly into safe or violating territory. Whether to default conservative, route to a human, or apply a specific combination rule. Explicit guidance here means the probe never freezes on an uncertain case. It acts, and it acts in the direction that protects your users. On the next page, you'll configure the metadata for your custom guardrail. Give it a clear guardrail name. Add a guardrail description to document its intent for your team. Then set the guard type, whether this probe is evaluating input, output, or agent actions. And the modality, specifying whether it applies to text or other content types supported by your deployment. And with that, your custom probe is created. To deploy it, click Add Guardrail, select Bud Sentinel as your enforcement layer, then select the custom policy you just created. We've already covered how to deploy guardrails to projects in the previous video, so I'm not going into detail on that. Your custom probe is now live. Any inference running through that model will be evaluated against the rules, examples, and violation thresholds you defined. That's how you move beyond off-the-shelf guardrails and build AI safety that actually fits your organization.